What's a secret you'll never tell your partner but are willing to tell strangers on Reddit? Story 1. When I was 14, my grandma passed away. For years, I had been bothering my parents for my own gold necklace. Well, Gram had a little bit of money and she gave me the $300 for a gold necklace in her will. It was my pride and joy. I had it around my neck for 17 years before I met my wife. It was off my neck maybe 3 times in those 17 years. My wife, then girlfriend, knew how much it meant to me and asked to wear it once. Well, it never came home. She had lost it somewhere or it had gotten stolen. I was distraught like crazy for 3 or 4 days while we turned our house upside down looking for it. Inevitably, I gave up, but she was very bothered by it all. So, I decided to go to a pawn shop and buy the closest I could get to an exact duplicate, and then I told her that I had found the necklace in the couch cushions. To this day, she thinks that I found my necklace from my grandmother, but this is actually version 2. Story 2. Whenever she's not home, I let the dog onto the bed and take a really comfy nap. I set an alarm for an hour and kick the dog off and clean the fur off before she ever gets home. I've been doing this for nearly 3 years now. Story 3. My partner doesn't know how bad my mental health really is. She knows I've reached out for support but doesn't know the extent of help I'm seeking. I just can't bring myself to say those words to her. Story 4. One time we had half a container of ice cream left. I had a craving. I ate a bowl, then another. Then I decided to finish the tub to destroy the evidence. Then I realized she would notice that there was no ice cream left. So I went to the store, bought another tub, and then ate that one down to the same level. This was a gallon tub. Story 5. That my wife always screams, she just doesn't seem to be able to talk at a normal level. Feel like she should be selling fish at a marketplace. Love her though. Story 6. My husband loves talkative cats. When we first got our kittens, I gave them a treat every time they made a meow or chirp. Since I was working from home, they ended up becoming very vocal. He still goes on about how lucky we are to have such talkative cats in a weekly basis. Story 7. Sometimes I just sit in my car outside work or our apartment for 20 to 30 minutes because I need some time alone. I have my mind full to the brim at work and rarely get time in the house alone. Sometimes I just need it to be quiet and not have to pay attention to anything. Story 8. The reason I wasn't hungry that one day in Dublin was because when I stayed behind to get ready while she waited in the lobby, I ate the entire box of leftover chicken wings that we took home from the restaurant the day before. I ate 15 cold, oily chicken wings in about 5 minutes at 9 a.m. before heading out for breakfast. Story 9. When I play video games and my wife isn't here, I narrate what I do and respond to fake questions from a non-existent chat like I'm some kind of big shot streamer. I even look at a fake camera when something happens, lol. Story 10. Our cat didn't break the towel rack. I did. I was pretending to be fighting zombies and grabbed it and ripped the goddamn thing off the wall. I heard her coming to check out the noise and looked down at my cat. She came into the bathroom to me asking my cat, "Why did you think the towel rack could hold your weight? You silly cat." Story 11. I never paid for her engagement ring. I went to a custom jeweler to have her ring made. It's a beautiful piece, and she loves it dearly, and it certainly wasn't cheap, appraised and insured for around $10,000. The jeweler was dealing with a lot of family issues at the time, and was incredibly disorganized. I went to pick up the ring and brought my checkbook to pay for it, and when she handed me the ring I took it out and asked her who to make the check out to. She said, "Oh no, don't worry about it right now, just send me a check in the mail." I thought that was strange, but sure, okay. She then hurried off to help another customer and I left. But she never told me what the final price was. For the next 6 months, I texted and called the jeweler asking, "Hey, just tell me what amount to put and I'll mail you the check." And there was always a reason she couldn't tell me. "Oh sorry, I'm out right now, I'll find it and text you later." Her shop was a few hours away from where I live, so it wasn't feasible to stop by and handle it in person. I tried for 6 months, but after that I stopped calling, texting and just figured I got the ring for free. I wouldn't tell my spouse, Because I don't want her to think I took advantage of the situation or that somehow the ring isn't as meaningful because I didn't pay for it. Story 12. I've broken your personal cup your sister got you 3 times. I recreated the design on paint and got some screen printing stall at the mall to print it on the cup. Each time it looks a little bit different. Story 13. When I asked her dad for his blessing, I had some liquid courage first and I can't remember what his response was. Let's hope it was yes because we've been married for over 2 years. Story 14. I dropped the diaper rash cream container on our daughter's head when she was like 8 days old. She let out this scream that still haunts me. When he came into the room to see what happened, I lied and said I just dropped the lid on her. Story 15. My husband complains about being in pain so much that I feel like there's no room for me to be in pain. And sometimes I really resent that. I have a chronic health condition that I have no choice but to manage well because he wouldn't know what to do if he had to care for me like I have to care for him. Sucks, but it is what it is. Story 16. That he legit saved my life. He's a nervous, humble guy who doesn't like undue pressure or praise, so I keep it to myself just how bad off I was before he showed up. Because even in the aftermath of my mom's death and even in the face of some pretty nasty health problems, which I was just letting slide because I was so depressed I was kind of hoping they'd kill me, I was very, very good at smiling and being charming. 3 years of taking care of a terminally ill parent taught me how to smile and bear it and feign positivity even when you're running on empty. And I never felt like I could be anything other than the fixer. The jaw. The person who always knows what to say. The reliable one. They who have every answer and can make bad feelings go away by just fixing the problem for you. I was not allowed to be negative. Ever. But he, legit came in and helped me with mom's estate and cheerleaded me into getting out of a dead-end career and put a stake in the heart of some severely toxic relationships I had and even helped me budget so I could finally afford health insurance, which wasn't a moment too soon, because I caught it right in the nick of time. And he just kind of did it. In his mind it was nothing much because you were on the right track, but you had a lot on your plate and needed help, smiley face. And I just nod and agree because what else do I say? I actually wasn't. I was just going to let myself die because I was exhausted and miserable, smiles aside. Thanks for intervening. Story 17. That his parents are really pissing me off and I do not want to be around them anymore. They are lousy grandparents to our son but not to his sister's children. Story 18. I pooped my pants 2 days ago. Story 19. I hate that he doesn't want to go anywhere, ever. Everything is always a chore or he dreads it. I want to go on hikes, random car rides, a damn picnic. Just get out of the house with him, just him. I want to go on dates, I'm growing very tired of this lifestyle. Story 20. I am terrified that my partner will die because I know I am not really a functional adult outside of my work. I am good for playing with the kids, bringing in a decent income and making food, but the idea of single parenting and taking care of everything fills me with existential dread I have a hard time describing. Story 21. I was playing with my daughter tossing her in the air when she was about 7 months old because it makes her laugh. I'd say it was about the third toss of going increasingly higher that I heard and then saw her head smash directly into our 10-foot ceiling. The look of utter shock and confusion that lasted for about 4 to 5 seconds on her face before she burst into tears now makes me laugh when I think back on it. But Christ, did it ever put the fear of God into me at the time. I was 90% sure I had just crushed my child's soft spot, compressed her neck. My wife said I ran up the steps with her holding her like I just found her on the road after a car accident, trying to tell her we had to go to emergency right now. Christ, if I had sirens and lights on the car they would have been on all the way, pedal to the metal. God bless the calm thinking of mothers. She took her, stopped her crying, told me to calm down as well and calmly took us to urgent care for a quick checkup. We laugh about it now, but first-time parents just don't realize how bouncy and durable infants are. Even the nurse had a good chuckle when I told her what happened. Apparently it's pretty common and she explained durability to me but was glad we stopped in just to be sure. I was worried she would be upset for wasting the urgent care staff time, but they were incredibly understanding and helpful. That first time with a kid leads to a lot of ridiculous stories in hindsight. Story 22. The thing that made me realize that I was in love with her is when I was taking a shower and got done. I walked into the room and she must not have heard me get out. She was laying on her side on the bed with her eyes closed, and she was picking her nose. I didn't want to embarrass her, so I stepped back out and from a distance asked where I set my clean clothes as I was walking back in, to make it seem like I was just coming in. She was visibly startled and quickly stopped, but continued to lay there with her eyes closed. I pretended that I saw nothing, but I couldn't help but smile. It was such an innocent and human moment. I have no idea why, but it made me realize right then and there that I loved everything about her. As silly as that moment was, there was a beauty in it, and I cherished that memory. Story 23. 15 years ago I had a new medication that did not mix well with alcohol. I had a party with friends, and we decided to go out in town. Next thing I remember, I woke up in a cell at the police station stripped down to my undies. It turns out I took a taxi. Instead of going home, I went to my mother's street. Apparently I was lucid enough to remember her street, but not her house, and ended up in her neighbor's backyard making enough noise to wake him up. In the end I got a $400 fine and a tremendous amount of shame. Story 24. If not for my partner and my family, I would have killed myself a long time ago. They are literally what I live for, and I can't tell them that because they would worry about me so much. Story 25. Not me but my friend. So his wife was really sick but was also extremely stubborn and religious. She believed that God will heal her, so he came to me and asked for a few of my sleeping pills. They're really strong and get you into a deep sleep quickly. So puts the pills in her drink, like clockwork. In 30 minutes she's out cold. He then asks me to help him get her to hospital. Next morning she wakes up in the hospital. Good thing too, of course, on top of that sickness she had stage 1 cancer. She survived and it's all good now. But he made me swear I didn't tell her what we did. Story 26. The one time when she and I first got together and she spent the night, I made it very clear I wanted her to leave in the morning. She was uncomfortable and brought it up later because of my behavior. I'll never tell her it's because since I only had one bathroom at the apartment and she was on the toilet that morning forever, it probably wasn't that long, just had time, and my ass runs on its own schedule. I had to poo in a small trash can on the back patio area I had. I had a high fence so no one could see, but there was a mess I needed to clean, both outside and on myself. But of course when she's out of the bathroom she has no idea and is asking about breakfast or whatever while I'm covered in poo. After she left I tossed my clothes and the trash can in the dumpster and took a long shower. And she also doesn't know that's the reason I've insisted any apartment we live in has 2 bathrooms. We've lived in 4 apartments together and everyone has had 2 bathrooms. Because I'm not doing that again. Story 27. The time I had intercourse with a snowman in a ditch behind my house. Though it was innocent, it's not something I'd talk about with anyone except the thousands of Redditors and millions of people who saw the story I posted here that someone put on YouTube. Anyway, I guess I could tell it again. So, I believe it was March 1993 and a huge blizzard swept the East Coast. I was young, bored and extremely horny. I didn't know then what exactly it was that I was feeling, but knew that it was normal for my age. Well, we were out of school for what must have been 3 weeks but felt like an eternity. I wasn't around anyone my age, there were no girls in my neighborhood and obviously no internet for browsing of a certain kind, but even if there was, I'd definitely be too afraid to attempt it. One evening before dark, I decided enough was enough and I couldn't handle the urge anymore. I had been holding back for weeks because I was too embarrassed to do anything in the bathroom. The guilt and anxiety of someone catching me was too much. My room wasn't an option because the door didn't lock, and when my door was shut someone would ask why or just open it. It was far too risky and I couldn't jeopardize my reputation of being the only normal one in my family. I threw on my snow clothes and scuttled off into the wilderness behind my house with a plan. I wasn't sure I'd actually do it, but I wasn't exactly thinking straight either, for obvious reasons. Once I arrived at my destination I decided to slide down into a gully that was about 15 feet deep. I sat there for a few minutes and listened for footsteps in case someone saw me, but it was completely silent where I could almost hear my inner voice say, "Don't do it, man." This is the moment of no return, I told myself. I was like a runaway train never going back, wrong way on a one-way track. Anyway, I got to work and started shaping Snow into a female body. She had boobs, curves, and the necessary inlet. I unzipped and went ahead with the task that lay before me, and within a minute or so it was all over. A few seconds of guilt and shame overcame me as I zipped up and erased the evidence. I crawled out of the gully back through the woods to my house. I went to my room and tried my best to forget her, but to my surprise that would be impossible, and every time it snows, I still think of her. Story 28. When my girlfriend and I go out to eat at a restaurant, they will sometimes let us order food through our phones at the table. I'll insist on ordering because it lets me write in their special instructions box where I request if they could compliment her outfit. Honestly, I think I get just as much enjoyment seeing her reaction. I can never let her know. Story 29. My husband is too light-hearted during sex and it is a total turn-off. Like, he will say boobies, or slap my ass and think it's funny. And like, I just want to be ravaged, and whenever he does these things, I get dry as a bone downstairs. I don't know how to bring this up without being an ass. Story 30. My girlfriend of 5 years has been deaf since she was 6. She reads lips pretty well, but prefers sign language. I didn't know a single sign when I met her, but I could tell right away there was something between us, so I started learning after I got home from our first date. Fast forward a few years, I'm now fluent in ASL and we use it to talk almost exclusively. When she's not looking though, I talk to her even though she can't hear me or see my lips to read. I tell her how much I love her, how I'm going to marry her someday, how beautiful she is, etc. I've even been practicing proposing, so it's not so terrifying when I actually do it. She has no idea and I plan to keep it that way.